Hi, this is Shane Lambert. Today I'd like to talk about a short story I wrote. Firstly, I'll show you isn't that funky? Like, my room is so messy and I don't have to worry about it. I want to talk about a short story I wrote. It's called On Being Indistinguishable. Um, it's, in my opinion, the best short story I wrote. It's currently published at letterpile.com, which is a member of Hub Pages. It's kind of where you submit through Hub Pages. If you get through that filter, they put it at one of their better niche sites. So that's a story for fiction, or pardon me, a website for fiction. On Being Indistinguishable, first I want to talk about the title. Okay, the title is kind of conventional, more representative of how authors title their essays. So if you read something that was like on the parts of the ear, it might be called like on the hammer, anvil, and stirrup or something like that. If you were reading about the political economy and Adam Smith, it might be called On the Wealth of Nations. That's kind of what those essays look like. So what I was trying to do with that very, very consciously was my short story is didactic. There's a point I'm trying to make. Some people, they don't like that kind of fiction. Tough luck. But my short story, I'm definitely trying to make a point. So On Being Indistinguishable, what it's actually about is what it's like when you can't tell things apart. And the context that I look at it, if you've ever watched like the news and there's some guy who's like a maniac that slashes a bunch of people or shoots them all to death or something like that, these mass killings that you see on the news, a lot of times what you'll hear, if you follow like the social media reaction, or just talk to people about it, people will be like, he seems like such a normal guy, and they're shocked that such a normal looking guy could do something so awful. Like Ted Bundy was like that, right? Supposedly he was charming, and yet he murdered, I believe, credited with 36 murders, something like that, and claimed that he committed a lot more, which is plausible to me. But the point is, you couldn't look at Ted Bundy and avoid him as a serial killer. So there's kind of, you can't tell the difference between a very normal person and somebody who's kind of mentally unwell a lot of the time. Now, this short story, it kind of relates to an old blogging hobby I used to have. I still do it from time to time, but I used to have a missing persons blog. And one of the things with missing people, was there was something called the Good Samaritan's ruse. This was a tactic that was used to abduct people, and that was basically somebody who was a murderer, possibly serial, or a kidnapper, possibly serial, and possibly a murderer, would pretend to be a good Samaritan, and they would betray somebody. So, for example, if you ever saw the movie The Zodiac, there's an instance of the Good Samaritan ruse where the Zodiac is driving on the highway. I forget the lady's name. It might be Kathleen Johns. He pulls up beside her, and the Zodiac's saying, "Hey, pull over. We need to change your tire. Your tire's going to go flat. It's going to come off," or blah, 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 blah. And then when she pulls over and he attends to the tire, he actually loosens the bolts and the nuts so that the tire does come off. And then he's Johnny on the spot to help the woman out. So that's kind of the Good Samaritan's ruse, is where you're pretending to help somebody, and oftentimes the person that shows up to help is actually the person that caused the damage to your car in this kind of scenario, or they have evil plans with you. So, I used to blog about missing persons, and this Good Samaritan's ruse, it comes up a lot. Kind of in California in the 70s, it was kind of, a lot of people did that. Somebody shows up at a broken down car and offers to help a woman, and lo and behold, he probably damaged the car, and this ride that he's going to give her to her home, it's actually going somewhere else, and she's just never heard from again. Now, what happens in the Good Samaritan's ruse is the person who receives the help trusts the person that arrives. You can't tell the difference between somebody who is safe and somebody who's mortally danger just by looking at them. Like there's that old Macbeth quote, there's no art in telling the difference. How's it go? It's in Macbeth by Shakespeare. There's no art in telling the difference. No. There's no art in finding the mind's construction by looking at a man's face. That's what, and you just can't tell. And in my story, I kind of look at that and show how actually it creates a dysfunctional kind of society from some points of view. So my short story is from the point of view not of somebody who is evil, and not from the point of view of the victim. It's from the point of view of somebody who is a Good Samaritan but gets treated like he's Ted Bundy. So it has to do with hitchhiking scenario and a Good Samaritan that wants to help somebody that looks like they're in a very troublesome spot, and then he basically figures out that he's cast himself into a false light, and he basically has to deal with that. And that's what the On Being Indistinguishable is about. I hope you enjoyed it. At Letter Pile, just search for Shane Lambert On Being Indistinguishable at that site.